Yes, everybody, you did read the thumbnail and the title correctly. This is the craziest tournament so far of the BBL. Hi everyone, Extra Flaming here and welcome back to a new YouTube video on the channel. And today guys, we are going to be going over how BBL 12 has potentially been one of the craziest seasons so far of Big Bash. Now, we are excluding the COVID pandemic year, but we are talking crazy as in crazy the best season that we have seen in a little while anyway. This season has been crazy and I'm going to go ahead and tell you why right now. So first of all, we do need to have a look at the ladder, and this ladder is ever changing. So probably when you hop on the ladder, things will be different. Now, also this is being recorded before the Strikers and the Hurricanes game, but there's a good chance that when this is uploaded, that this game has probably already been played out. So something really crazy happened in there. Yeah, it's probably not going to be in this video. Anyway, though, yes, there's been some crazy things this season. So let's just go ahead and hop right into them. So first of all, we want to start here. So first, this is the first place to start, and the best place to start is at the Adelaide Oval, second game of the Big Bash tournament, Strikers versus Sixers, where the Strikers won by 51 runs and absolutely put the Sixers to bed due to Matt Shaw, Chris Lynn, and Adam Ho's absolute clinics. And all of the Sixers bowlers, apart from Naveed, got absolutely smashed around. And then the Sixers, in response, could not bring up anything, despite some great batting by Philippe, Henriquez, and Silk. They could not get over the line in the end due to some brilliant bowling by Henry Thornton, who came out. He's made this tournament his own. Rashid Khan also bowled really well, as well as Matt Shaw, who's come a bit of an all-rounder himself. But this is the start of what has been a crazy tournament, a 51-run win for the Strikers at home. So this moves me into point number 1, which, don't worry, we'll be revisiting this game again a little bit later for the Sydney Thunder perspective. But starting off with the Adelaide Strikers, they won by 124 runs at Sydney Showground Stadium after putting up 139, which was, in the end, a reasonable score, with Lynn and de Grandhomme putting up a couple of runs, as well as Kelly and Nielsen getting a few late runs back. And a few of the Thunder bowlers bowled really well. Although Thunder got absolutely toppled for 15, the highest score was Brendan Doggett's 4 off 2, which was the only boundary of their innings, which saved them from being bowled out under 10 indeed. And this was just an absolute disaster, and the Strikers had won their first 2 games of the year. And then the Strikers won their 3rd game in a row, this time beating the Thunder by 6 wickets, despite an Alex Hales and Oliver Davies masterclass. In the end, though, the Strikers were too strong, and they'd won 3 of their first 3 games. They were 3-0. And, well, then their collapse started, losing to the Heat, the Scorchers, the Stars, and most recently, the Hurricanes. And now they sit 5th on the BBL table, needing desperate wins. So going back to this game where the Strikers won by 124 runs, the next team that I want to talk about is the Sydney Thunder. They were wiped out for 15 against the Strikers, and then this happened. A couple of weeks later, they are now sitting 2nd on the BBL table. They have recently just wiped out the first place team and are looking pretty good. They competed well with the Renegades and the Strikers before then producing up a 10-wicket win versus the Heat. And then not too long after that, they were scoring over 200 runs more than what their total of 15 was, in what has produced a real big turn for the Sydney Thunder, with Alex Hales and Oliver Davies really being some shining lights throughout their season. And then it was a majestic win versus the first place Perth Scorchers last night, as you'd be watching a couple of nights ago, with Oliver Davies and Alex Ross really setting up that success. And that's how they are currently 2nd on the BBL table. So next team I want to talk about is the Melbourne Renegades. Nick Maddinson shined in their first game with 87. However, it didn't just end there for the Renegades. They also recorded a couple of great wins over the Thunder and another nice win over the Heat. And then the Renegades found themselves in the same boat as the Strikers, losing their next 4, 2 to the Sixers, 1 to the Scorchers, and 1 to the Hurricanes, before repairing their season with a really big derby win over the Stars. So now let's talk Hurricanes, and well, they got smashed by the Stars in their first game, which was an absolute disaster, before then producing this absolute miracle of a win versus the Perth Scorchers. Paddy Dooley really did come alive in this game, as did many other players, for example, Tim David, Shadab Khan, Matthew Wade, Darcy Short, just some of the names. But yeah, they really got firing in this game, and this was a big win for their season. And it was also one of the Perth Scorchers' only 2 losses so far. So then the rest of their season was just hit and miss for the Hurricanes so far. They lost the Sixers by 6 runs. They beat the Renegades by 8. They got absolutely thumped by the Thunder by 62 runs. And then most recently, they turned their season around with a big win over the Strikers, which does still have them outside the finals, currently sitting 6th. They've played the least games in the tournament so far with a record of 3-3. So now we're going to be talking about the Brisbane Heat, and the Heat lost both their, they lost both their first 2 games of the season against the Renegades, despite showing a little bit of hope in this second one. In the end, they did have them at 4 for 9 at one stage, before then Andre Russell and Zakil Hossain really did get them going. Aaron Finch and Andre Russell also had a really big partnership together as well. Sam Harper, Nick Madison, Jake Fraser, McGurk, Jonathan Wells, all falling really, really, really cheaply, which was a dent for the Renegades, but they did show that they do have great experience all round to win this one. A big breakthrough win here for the Brisbane Heat versus Strikers did send some belief through the team that they do have the capability to knock off tougher opponents. They lost to the Thunder pretty comfortably, but this was a turning point. So they lost to the Thunder pretty comfortably by 10 wickets in the end, the Heat. And then the next game versus the Thunder, they actually came out and actually played pretty well thanks to Colin Munro's 98 and James Basley's 24. They couldn't get the job done, but this was just going to give them up for a little bit of future hope. So the Heat swung the axe. They dropped Bryant, and then because Renshaw was playing for the Australian Test team, they dropped him as well. And they won by 15 runs. They brought in 2 absolute gems. Josh Brown and Nathan McSweeney really helped them. Josh Brown, 62 from 23, really did set the Heat on the right page before then Nathan McSweeney also started to go bang in his incredible 84-run innings. Sam Billings and Jimmy Pearson also put on a couple of late runs as well for the Brisbane Heat. But yeah, while Brown and McSweeney were at the crease, it was a pretty good time for the Heat, ending up beating the Sixers, who did fight very hard through Vince and Silk and Kerr. But in the end, it was just too little too late, and a big win there for the Heat, which sent a lot of belief. So this one was a rain-affected game at North Sydney Oval, but the Brisbane Heat got 6 for 147 off their 13 overs, with Colin Munro and again Nathan McSweeney as well as Michael Neser, showing that they do have the capability to put on runs. Michael Neser's late 45 from 18 as a number 8 was just absolutely incredible. And then, yeah, the Sixers bowlers got absolutely hammered. And now even though they didn't get the win because it was a no result, rained out game, this really has sent a lot of belief for their next couple of matches. So now we're going to be talking about the Stars, who are currently on the bottom of the ladder, before we're going to finish off talking about the Sixers and the Scorchers. So it was a poor start to the season for the Melbourne Stars, not putting up lots of runs and losing by a wicket to the Thunder. They then started to try and put that foot forward to try and get their season on track, winning by 38 against the Hurricanes. They showed plenty of effort and spark and fight in their narrow loss to the Sixers. However, they also did manage to go ahead and give up the highest BBL score so far this season, with all their bowlers getting absolutely pumped, all of them having an economy over 10, except for Adam Zampa, who still had a very high economy of 9.5. Luke Wood did take a fifer, but he conceded 50 runs in the process of doing so, before then playing again better next game, but still losing to the Scorchers. It was a New Year's Eve treat for the Melbourne Stars, knocking off the Adelaide Strikers at the Adelaide Oval. Joe Clark, Tom Rogers, Marcus Stoinis all batted absolutely beautifully. It looked like they were starting to play well. They fielded and bowled pretty well against the Renegades. Their batting was where they got undone. If this top order goes very cheaply, they've got no hope. Nick Larkin was okay with his 48 from 40, but took a long time to get going in the end. Hilton Kara was the only other man that put another amount of substantial runs on the board. So the Sixers season has been repaired after their shaky start. They lost to the Strikers and to the Scorchers, both away from home in their first two, before then getting some good wins over the Hurricanes, Stars, and the Renegades a couple of times. Then another loss for the Sixers in a very high scoring contest, before then most recently the no result versus the Heat, which currently has them sitting third on the table 4-3-1. So the unique thing about the Perth Scorchers this season, which is the team that we are now currently talking about, and the final team that we're talking about, is that they've always had a standout in every single game. A very nice win for the Sixers in their first. A poor loss to the Hobart Hurricanes in the end, despite still playing pretty well. A memorable afternoon against the Stars, where they both batted and bowled very well. Duplessis, Hobson, Inglis, Hardy, all playing really well. A solid win over the Strikers. A solid win over the Stars. A very nice win over the Renegades. And their most recent loss versus the Thunder. Ashton Turner has really been a standout as well for the Perth Scorchers throughout this Big Bash. And there we have it. This has been why the Big Bash is crazy. But before you go, I have one thing to say which has made this season why it is. And let me show you. It is because of the Big Bash draft. It is only going to allow you to pick up a certain number of good players, a certain number of pretty decent players, and a certain number of not so great players, but this is overseas players. You can get a really classy, top class player. Then you can get a mid-range player. Before then, you can pretty much get a cheap bargain player pickup sort of a thing. So yeah, this has really spaced out the tournament. I think this has really worked. It makes so that every team is really fair. I reckon every team's got a fair, pretty stacked list, as well as players from Australia as well. International duties can mess it up, but it does. This draft does make so that it's fair and that teams are getting around the same kind of ranked players if you were to have like a overall ranking system. And then here's the rest of the fixture. Feel free to look in this column if you want to see what games are coming up. Feel free to pause. So we have answered why this tournament has been so crazy. Every team has really had its crazy up and down patch, and I feel like really it can be because of the Big Bash draft and how teams play at different venues as well, because every team's got at least 2 wins and 2 losses, and there's been times where every team has started to really get going. There's been times where they've been in rough patches. Thank you guys. It was smart watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. Send you guys never miss another video on the channel. Thank you guys. It was smart from this Bye everyone. Extra Flaming out.